Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be around the world, and welcome to another Solid Academy live stream. My name is Nathan Ingram. I am the host here at Solid Academy, and we are back for our first public free live stream of 2025 with the January plugin Roundup. Now, as you may know, we take a look across the WordPress ecosystem for a list of interesting plugins that we bring you each month. Especially, and we don't even update the year correctly. That's me. I totally missed that. This is January 2025. So if you downloaded this handout during or before the live stream, you now have the collector's edition with the incorrect year there at the top. We'll get that corrected for publishing the replay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this will be worth so I had a friend who's an author, and he used to, when he would sign books, he would say, now they can get a quarter for this at the thrift store instead of 10 cents. So it's worth about that. So anyway, here we go. It is January 2025, not 2024. And we begin, as we always do, with just a little reminder about the plugins in this list. So first of all, our goal is simply to highlight some interesting plugins that have been newly added to or newly updated in the WordPress plugin directory. We have not thoroughly tested these plugins for bugs and security and privacy, accessibility, all the things that you would want to do. We've done some. We make sure they work generally, but thorough testing, there's just not time for that for this kind of a live stream. These are interesting plugins that you might find a specific use case for in your personal site or maybe even client sites. But before you use them, we do always encourage you to test all of these as you would anything and consider them. Now, one thing you will notice is most of these plugins are brand new. And so evaluating the number of users that has installed, or the number of users that have installed the plugin and so forth, that's a very good thing to consider as you look at a plugin and decide if you're going to use this. However, just be aware, all these plugins have very small user bases in general because they're new. And so, just take a look at the plugin, see if it's going to work for you. And I think you might find some interesting ones here in this list. So we're going to start out with a fun plugin that I found called Plug Insight. Now, I particularly like this plugin because what it allows you to do is quickly, at a glance, take a look at when this, your list of plugins. It adds a new column that shows you when this plugin was updated last, what version it was tested to of WordPress, all the kinds of things you'd want to do to look at a plugin. This could be especially helpful if you are doing a quick site audit. Say, for example, maybe you have a client or a new potential client that wants you to manage a WordPress site that maybe you didn't build, and you want a quick way to take a look at the plugins and see if there's any crazy plugins in there. This is a good plugin to do that. So let's take a look first at Plug Insights. The first step, of course, is activating the plugin. So here's our Plug Insight plugin. Let us activate this one. And when this page reloads, you will notice there is now a new column over here in our installed plugins list called Maintenance Status. So right here, it gives you a visual indicator, green, yellow, red, on, how reliable is this plugin based on the things that it can uncover. So, what is the latest version? Is the plugin you have installed at the latest version? That's good. When was it last updated, and what version of WordPress was it tested up to? Now, so here, for example, we got a couple of Beaver Builder, the Beaver Themer plugins. These are not in the WordPress plugin directory. But scrolling on down, you see most of these are pretty good shape. Now, here's one, Fluent Snippets. We are at the latest version, but it's giving it a little bit of an orange or yellow flag here, maybe because of the tested up to date or the last updated date. So that way you can just quickly scan through and see, hey, is there anything I need to take a look at? Now, knowing, for example, let's just say we were doing a quick site audit on this particular site, wpnathan.com. Well, we know Fluent Snippets, this is a reliable developer. There's no issues with that. So even though it's flagged it orange or yellow, it's not this is not really a problem. So, but we can quickly see if there is a plugin that, maybe it's not even in the directory or it's been updated 4 years ago or whatever. So quick, easy way to just scan through all of the plugins that are used on a site. Oh, here's a bad one. Test it up to so, and again, here's a thing where although the developer updated this plugin 2 months ago, it they didn't change the flag in the code that lets WordPress know what version it was tested to. So while this plugin is probably fine, it is getting a red because of this tested up to date, which is interesting. Yeah. So there you go. And this one is the pro version, which is not in the directory. So yeah, there you go. Now there's a couple of things here you can do on the settings page, or actually just really primarily one thing, and it's a smart little feature that the developer has baked into this plugin, which caches all of this information. So you can imagine with this list of plugins you have, it has to go out and call out to the WordPress plugin directory for each of these plugins and pull in all of this information, right? So instead of doing that every single time you load the plugins page, it's actually caching that information in the database. So if we want to refresh the cache and make it go out and force a reload, we can do that simply by clicking this button. So that cleared the cache, and it takes just a little bit longer to reload the page, and we're good to go here. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So that is Plug Insights. Any other questions or comments about this one? Oh, Doug is saying it's a 40K size plugin. Yeah, so it's pretty small, right? I could see this being very helpful for a quick site audit. Okay, let us then move on to the next plugin in the list. It is called Quick Embed PDF. Now, this is an issue that has come up from time to time during office hours for our Solid Academy members. People looking for solutions on the best way to embed or display a PDF file on their website. And this is a nice way to do it. It uses simply a shortcode where you just activate the plugin and then the shortcode is provided, and you can use this anywhere on your site. So it's QEPW PDF viewer file equals and drop any URL here. It can even be a URL external to the website. As long as it's a publicly available link, you can drop it right there and that PDF will embed. So let me show you how this one works really quick. And for those that are just popping in, here is the link bundle that includes the download right there for you. All right, so Quick Embed PDF is already active. So let's go to our page we have set up for this. And what you will see here on our page is simply the shortcode. Now, what I've done is here in the media library, I have added a link to the best of July through December of last year. So this was our last plugin roundup of 2024, where we took a look at all the best of plugins in the last half of the year. There is our link there, but it could be any publicly available PDF link. And let's take a look at how it generates. So it actually just drops in right here, our PDF right on the page. And we have buttons to navigate, and it just flips right through the PDF right here. Now you can there's also a download button. Now, for some reason, it did not pick up the size of this PDF. Normally it would put, whatever K or megabytes or whatever, but you can click this and it downloads the file as you would expect. It's pretty nice. Now, it's very clean and simple. Now, there is a settings page for this that you might be interested in. It is here under Settings and Quick Embed PDF. Right here, you can decide how wide do I want this PDF to display. So maybe we just want a very small PDF display. Let's just set this for 300, for example, and you will see it just gets smaller right there. We have some CSS work to do here to make all this fit, but there it is. And we can even disable the download, which is very helpful as well. That way we only get the navigation buttons. So right there, it tells you how many pages and just lets you navigate. Now, one thing to be aware of here, this is not an accessible way to view a PDF. So when you look at the way this displays, the contents of the PDF are in an opaque canvas tag, meaning it's uploading, it's embedding the PDF in this canvas tag. It's using Mozilla's PDF.js library, very common JavaScript library to display PDFs. But you'll just need to be aware that well, let me get back to well, come on. Hello, inspect. That's what we want. This canvas tag, there's nothing inside of it. So all of this, you can't highlight anything. So the bad part of this is if you're using a screen reader, you would not be able to read the PDF. However, you could download the PDF. And as long as the PDF is accessible, that's probably honestly a better way for a person with vision issues to read a PDF rather than trying to read it embedded. And it could actually be a better experience as it would skip all of the stuff in this, all the text in this PDF, and just give them a previous, next, and download button. So just be aware of that. That is something I noticed. Something else also that's interesting about this is, I mean, let's say you want to display a PDF that you really don't want to be indexed or anything like that. This would probably do that because it's not revealing the URL of the PDF. It's not making, it's not exposing the content, the words or the images of the PDF in the HTML of the page. So it could be a really good use case for, private PDFs as well. So interesting tool, and one you might find useful for. That is Quick Embed PDF by Mark, whoever Mark is. Thank you, Mark. Can you right click on it? Is this an image? Is that what's happening? Let's see what this is doing. It looks like you can yes. So the active image that you're seeing, it is actually showing, this is an image. So the PDF.js is showing an image here that could be downloaded with a right click. So be aware of that. You could, if that's an issue and you're trying to keep content private, you could disable right clicks with a JavaScript just to make it a little bit harder. But anyway, that's Quick Embed PDF. Could be a helpful tool depending on your use case. All right. Any other questions, comments about that one? All right, well, let's move then into a few WooCommerce plugins that we found for this month. The first one is remove product content for WooCommerce. Now, this is it's a helpful plugin, not as full featured as Cadence Shop Kit. If you're using Cadence and our sister company there in the Cadence Shop Kit, which is an excellent tool to modify your site for WooCommerce. This has a few features that ShopKit has, not all of them, but it does a really, really good job with helping you quickly remove content from a WooCommerce product page. Let me show you what I mean. So let's go take a quick look. Remove product content from WooCommerce. Here we go. Skipping our freemius information there. And let's just go take a quick look at one of our WooCommerce products. Let's just view our single product page. All right, so here we have a basic WooCommerce product page, just out of the box for this demo site. So what we're going to be able to do here, we go to WooCommerce settings, remove product content, WooCommerce settings, remove product content. And now we have the various things that we can remove. Now, checking on means turning off. So for example, if we wanted to remove the product price for whatever reason, we can check that box and the product price, boom, it's gone. It just disappears. And interestingly, as we look at the source here, it's not hidden with CSS. It's actually unset from the page. So it doesn't appear at all in the source. So we have a lot of options here. Sometimes, for example, you might, especially if it's a simple product site, you may have, all of your description up here in the short description, and you want to hide all this other stuff down here. So maybe if that's the case, we can go down here and hide the full product description and all the product tabs, and it's going to really simplify this page. Where now, look, it's just this. We can even hide the related products if we want. And now we have a very simple listing, just like this. Now, Sue has a good question in the chat. This is global. So it is not per product. I don't believe. One thing I didn't check on this one is if it adds a box per product. No, it is. It is global. So this is a shop-wide setting that you would use here. But it gives you the ability to turn on and off all these things. You can even add a custom message. And we can show this, oh, I don't know, how about before the short description? And it's going to drop it in right there. So it's super simple. It does a very specific thing, but it does it pretty well. So you can see all the things you can do with it here. You can remove also items from the product archive pages. Add a custom message to the product archive page. Yeah. And then there are upgrade options, of course, that do a lot of things. Does the Pro version do single product only? Let's see. Yes. So in the Pro version, it does give every individual product its own settings here that override these global settings. So let's see how much. It's not terribly expensive. $39, build once. So this is like a lifetime deal, it looks like. No support. But I mean, do you need support for this? I don't think so. So it's a one-off sale. Pretty good. And then deals if you use it multiple times. That's pretty good. I like that. That is remove product content for WooCommerce. Not a bad little plugin. Any other questions or comments on that one? Well, then let us scroll down for this is a pretty cool plugin. Now, this is a niche use case, but you may find that it's helpful in a specific situation. So this is a plugin called Advanced Accounts for WooCommerce. What this is basically going to allow you to do, two major functions. The first is maybe I want to make sure that anybody that makes a purchase, maybe it's a particular kind of site, probably not a typical e-commerce site, but maybe something that has membership implications or whatever. This plugin does add email validation. So within the process of checking out, it gives you a flow to validate the email address that the customer is using. That could be super helpful depending on, what the feature set of the e-commerce site is that you're building. Also, something it does, and this does require an additional add-on, this other plugin called SMS credits by the same developer. But basically, it supports using your phone number as the username and sending a one-time password as the password. So this is really cool. So like, you go in to log in, and with this all set up, it would text the user the password, which they could then enter in as their password. And so it just interrupts the normal WooCommerce flow and adds this as a login option. If you have, for example, an e-commerce site that is mostly mobile users, this could be really nice to help them expedite the flow of signing up and purchasing, logging in, and so forth. So let's take a look here at advanced accounts for WooCommerce. Where is it? Here called WooCommerce Advanced Accounts. Okay. So what we will find here, it's under accounts and advanced. Now we have all these options. So we're at WooCommerce, settings, accounts, the normal accounts tab, and then this advanced tab, which it adds. Can we use the phone number as login? Do not require email address to create an account. So we can just use the phone in that case. We can require the verification of our email here. We can require phone verification. And here, when we get into these two options here to verify phone and the one-time password, this is where we would need to go out and actually have this SMS credit plugin set up. It's very inexpensive. So for example, US cost, let me just scroll down through all of the many countries. Scrolling. Hello. Okay. So right here, for example, 1.18 cents per text. Super, super cheap. So basically you buy a block of texts from the developer, and that's what it uses. It just gradually eats away at your pool of pre-purchased text messages to use this. So could be a really simple and easy way to add phone login and text me my one-time password to log in to your WooCommerce site. So pretty nifty plugin. Can't really demo that just because I'm not going to buy text credits for this demo, but you see how this works? Pretty cool. Great features. That is advanced accounts for WooCommerce. Any questions, comments about that one? Again, edge use case, but this is something you might want to put in your toolbox because who knows, one day up the road, you might really have a site that calls for this. All right, scrolling down, one more WooCommerce plugin. This is called Customer Journey Map for WooCommerce. This one I think could be really, really helpful in getting a better understanding of the path your visitors use or follow through your site in order to purchase a product. Now, you can do some of this with analytics, but this is a WordPress-based solution. It is cookie-based. So if you are in an area that has privacy laws, or you're using a cookie plugin, this does drop a cookie, so you'd have to disclose that. But it's a first-party cookie. It's related to your site only, and the journey the customer takes through the website stored in that cookie, and then when they purchase an order, it's pushed over to the order information. So I set this up earlier, and it's, by the way, really simple to do. All you do is activate the plugin, customer journey, skipping the freemium stuff here. All right, and when we look at an order, I placed this order earlier, and what you will see is this new box on the order. So at 11:38 a.m. today, I went to the home page, then I clicked on blog, then I read a blog post. Notice it's showing you how long I spent on that page. Now, this was just me click, trying to get some sort of trail saved. But you could see, how long did they read the post before they clicked the buy now button or whatever. Anyway, after I clicked the post, I went into the shop. I added something to the cart and looked at that, went to checkout, boom, 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 and there it is. So you can see the whole flow that the customer took going to your website. And again, this is stored in a cookie, but it's a first-party cookie related to your WordPress site. It's not shared outside. So interesting stuff. Really gives you a window in to how your customers travel through your site before they make a purchase. So that is Customer Journey Map for WooCommerce. Questions or comments about that one? Maybe a little creepy, but pretty good data. How much history? Well, it's going to store the customer's entire journey through your website. I would imagine, if however much they keep clicking is however much it's going to show. Now, I don't know what would happen if I came back. I did this in a incognito browser session, so the cookie would be gone. I don't know what would happen if you had the cookie and came back. It'd be interesting to find out. All right. Any other questions, comments on this one? Pretty good stuff. Does it track outside of WooCommerce? Yes, it does track outside of WooCommerce pages. You can see that right here. Homepage, the blog page, a blog post. It saves the information back to the database when the customer purchases something. So in that checkout process, when the payment is processed and so forth, this plugin grabs the data out of that cookie and puts it over here into this customer journey in the database for that order. So pretty cool. It's an interesting idea for sure. This is definitely one of those plugins, though, that if you are in an area where privacy is a big deal, certain areas are not, certain areas are, it's a very big deal. You would want to test this and make sure, look at the cookie, make sure everything's copacetic before you start to use this on client sites. But I think it could be a pretty good tool. All right, let us scroll on down to the next plugin, which is called FeedTune. FeedTune. Now, how many of you knew that every single WordPress site has a built-in feed? By default, WordPress produces an RSS feed, and it is located at /feed. And there it is. It's a bunch of XML. This is all the posts on the site, and they push out in this RSS feed. Now, this is, let's see here. This is the RSS 2.0 feed. WordPress also produces an Atom feed at /feed/Atom. Now, the difference between these two, RSS is the most used feed, probably because WordPress does it by default. Atom feeds are, the RSS feeds don't have an established standard. You can put all sorts of stuff in an RSS feed and it doesn't invalidate the structure. Atom feeds are much, they're standardized. There's stuff you can put in there, stuff you can't. It's a more standardized flow. So for that reason, some people want to do RSS or they want to do Atom to push everything into a standardized feed or not. Anyway, this is a plugin that gives you a little bit of control over how your feeds are showing up. So let's activate FeedTune. And I shouldn't have closed that right away. All right, so there's our feed. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at, immediately we can just uncheck this box, and that is going to disable all of our feeds. So here, the feed is there, but look, there's nothing in it. It's die, it's not a valid template. If I go to Atom, same thing. There's no data in the feed. So, immediate, check on, check off. I could only have an Atom feed. So if I check on just that box, this feed should work, but the RSS feed doesn't work. Right? So you get a little control there. Another interesting thing here is, let's say I want to, right now there's no redirection, but I can say if the feed is disabled, I want to redirect to the home page. So here, since the RSS feed is disabled, I have the redirect on now. When I refresh the page, it just takes me to the home page. So it's an interesting little tool here. A lot of times, for example, if you were in the starter site course in November and December for members here at Solid Academy, we gave some code to completely disable feeds. I mean, obviously, if you're using that, you don't need this. But this is going to give you a little more control over how your feeds show up or don't show up, or if there's redirect or not. Again, probably not something you'd use on every site, but you may have a use case at some point where you need a little more control over how the feeds are produced. And in that case, FeedTune might be a good tool for you. So that's about it. Any other questions or comments on FeedTune? I don't recall seeing many plugins at all that do anything like this. So pretty cool. All right, scrolling down our list to the next plugin is one called eCard. Now, I really like this plugin because I think it could be, it will add an extra feature that you can provide or maybe even upsell a client to as you're building a website. So let's take a look at eCard. And we have kind of a silly example here, but it's fun. Let's activate eCard. That's going to create for us a new um, menu item here called digital cards. And we have a card set up for SpongeBob SquarePants. Now, let's just take a quick look at this and you'll see what it's about. So the use case here is you can give someone a URL or click or a QR code or something. And here's like a whole link tree style or basic digital card page for an individual. So you've got a logo, you've got an image, you've got the name, the title, address. You've got options to show all these things like email address, the telephone number, web link, the map link, social media links. It also has information you can put in each of these areas, like the services that are offered and so forth. This would take you to a Google map listing in the middle of the ocean, of course. There is a photo gallery that can be added here, which is swipeable. So imagine this on a phone. It would be quite nice. And then even add a video. So there's a YouTube video. And all of this is easily controlled from right here under digital cards. So there's our basic description that shows up right here in this area. Here's our logo, the person's photo, their designation, company, and all the things you saw echoed out on the front end are right here and can be set up for each individual person. So there's our social links. Here's our gallery. Here's our videos. You can add multiple videos if you want. Here's our services, and you can add additional services if you want or remove them altogether. And that generates this nice little shareable page that looks really great on a phone. If you can imagine that right there on your phone, it'd be really nice. So I actually have a tool that I use that generates this with HTML. And I have a digital business card on my phone that I will use instead of carrying physical business cards. As soon as I find it, here we go. So it looks kind of like this right here. And so this is very similar. And I can even, it's got a QR code button on here that you could use as well. But you could have a QR code that opens this page. So pretty neat. And I realized that phone was likely very out of focus. But you get the idea. It's a digital business card, which you could set up for, let's say it's a service industry person. They could have just a quick URL to send their contact information. So this is called eCard, and it's pretty flexible and just works pretty well right out of the box. All the colors can be set and so forth. Yeah, pretty nifty. Questions or comments about this one? Vern, it is a yes. So here's the link right here to that particular card, and we can add another one. It just uses the slug eCard. Yep. Other questions or comments on this one? I could see this being a pretty interesting feature that you could add for different professionals or service providers. Yeah. All righty, scrolling on down to the next plugin. This is the first plugin that I believe we've ever had that is designed to be used first for the site editor. So this is a block first plugin that has a lot of controls using site editor, but it's perfectly usable without it. So this is a WordPress job board, basically. It's really more for like maybe you have a client that's a company and they need to post jobs. This is a really good free job board, hiring center, job listing, whatever you want to call it. It works really, really well. So let me show you how this one is set up. The nice thing about it, it is not opinionated in the way that it displays. So it kind of just drops everything out on the page, and you can use CSS to make it match your site better. Or the site editor, and this, again, for a block theme, would also give you some control over this. But let me show you the features that it offers. Hiring Center. So it's going to create a custom post type with jobs and settings. Here in the settings, you'll see it comes out of the box with tons of these specifications, like what the employment type. Is it part-time, full-time, contract, temporary, season, whatever? And all these are editable, or you can just remove it and add your own to this list. There's a pretty thorough list of specifications. What's the workplace like? Is it remote, hybrid, on site? Is there paid time off? Yes or no? Is there a relocation bonus, base salary? You get the idea. So it all so many things that are included by default. Again, those can be removed. You can add your own to match your use case. There's also the place where you can set the slug for the archive page and for the individual post links. It also wraps the job listings with the appropriate schema microdata to make them more digestible by search engines. And so, yeah, you have the ability to set all that up, and it just kind of works. So here we have a job set up already. It is an awesome job. And here's how it works. So we've got our job description that goes here. And then over here in this area, notice it is block first. We have, let's see, here we go. So here's all those job specifications that we saw in the settings. So, is it part-time, full-time? What is it? You start typing, it'll give you the information there. Is it remote, hybrid, whatever? Do I want to show a base salary or not? And all these requirements, they all just show up right here in the sidebar. There's a lot of stuff here by default. You probably want to clean some of this up if it wasn't directly pertinent to your job listings. So lots of different things. How long is it? This is posted until a certain date. Yeah. So once this is all set up, you have your job, and it will display on the front end right here. And there's an apply button, or there's a link it would take you to. So pretty cool. And again, it's not opinionated on how it outputs. You can, set up your page margins and whatever with your theme. We could do it with Cadence, whatever. It is nicely responsive. So yeah, for a free plugin, this is pretty darn good out of the box. And if you're using a block theme, you get even more control over how the job listings and the individual jobs look. Here's the jobs page for all of them. Now this is wall to wall. We need to do some CSS help here. But notice built in here, there's some filters that we can select, and filter our listings. And then it'll show the jobs that match underneath. You can also search the job by title or description here. So this page needs a little love. We could probably fix all this up with some CSS, but you get the idea. That is Hiring Center. Pretty nice plugin. Questions or comments on this one? Pretty nifty. All right. So here is a plugin called Simple URL to QR Code. There's a million QR code generators out there. Why not make one in our WordPress site? So here, for example, is a way to do that. Let us activate the plugin, Simple URL to QR Code. Now that is going to add let's see, is it tools? No, settings. No, it's down here. URL to QR code. There we go. And this just lets us simply drop in a URL. We'll grab our SpongeBob, and it will generate for us right here the QR code. It's pretty straightforward. This can be saved off as an image, but the really cool thing about this is the short code. The short code is super cool because if you look at this, it is simply, it just lets you put a URL, whatever URL you want. So here's the short code. You could put any URL in here that you wanted. to place. So, for example, there's a nonprofit that I work with, and after different group meetings, there's a page of QR codes that the facilitator needs to fill out. Well, you can have all that stuff dynamically generated on a page just by dropping in your URLs, and just the barcode, the QR codes just show up there automatically. So pretty cool. We could make a QR code here. Let's just change this to google.com, save. And now this QR code is going to take you to Google. Yes, the slug generates it on the fly. I don't know every time, or where is this being saved? It looks, honestly, oh, look, it's just going to the QR server. This is an API. This is the free QR server API. So it's going and fetching the QR code and displaying it. So it's not taking up space on your site or anything like that. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of neat things you could do with this, I think. So yeah, that is, again, very simple. URL to QR code. And it's this dynamic short code that makes this one pretty useful. You could do some clever things with this. All right. Let's move on down to the next one. Okay, this is a nerd alert plugin. Okay, so if you are not a data nerd, you will probably not appreciate this one at all. However, if you are, this one's pretty neat. It took me a minute. I actually even had to talk to Chris and say, help me understand, how this works and what it might be used for. And then I got it, and it makes sense. So here's the question. How many of you data nerds out there have been trying to do maybe an import of something from one WordPress site to another, and you're trying to find all the different slugs for custom post types? Maybe it's an event and some event plugin. You're trying to find out what all these slugs are, and it's really hard to find that kind of information, etc. Have you ever tried to do that? It's really, really difficult. This plugin makes that super easy. So watch what this thing will do. Let's activate it first. Always the first step in using a plugin is, activating the plugin. And then we will go down here to tools. Yes, tools and data debug tool. Okay. So in basic, what this is a JSON viewer. That's all it does. So for example, we could get our plugin list here and search, and it outputs a JSON of all the plugins on the site, right? I mean, this is not terribly useful. What is useful is this. So let me go back into my dashboard. Let's take a look at this job listing. Hiring center, all jobs. Get our ID. So I'm looking down at my little tooltip down here. It's post 405. So I'm going to get post 405. Remember all those custom fields that this job plugin had? Let's grab okay, so here's our post. Post date, blah, blah, blah. Here's the job information. Now, scrolling down, scrolling. We're going to get a list of all of our custom fields. These are now this is the content of that field. You may remember that when I edited this job over here in the side, like that's the information. So these are the educational requirements. I typed that in here so that we'd be able to see it here. So this is our educational requirements slug. Here's the work eligibility slug. So you can do this with any post, and it's going to grab the post meta. If you just want the post meta, you can do that. Get post meta for 405 and search, and it's just going to give you the metadata and leave out the actual post content. So it's really, really cool. Again, narrow use case. But if you've ever, like I have, had to go through and try to figure out what some of the, all the data is in the database, but we just don't know where it is or how to pull it, this will let you find it simply by dropping a post in there that has the data in it that you're looking for. So I really took me a minute to get my head around this. But yeah, I've never seen anything like this for WordPress, and I'm quite happy with whoever WP Spices is. So that is Data Debug Tool. All right, let us scroll down the list to the next one. Now, by the way, some of you saw this accidentally during last week's office hours as we were trying to add that. We were trying to get, remember, the videos to be like TikTok videos, you know, the portrait videos. The name was gone. The portrait videos instead of landscape oriented videos. And we're trying to assign a CSS class and add the CSS to do that. And this showed up under extra classes where we had a pick list of classes. That was actually this plugin. Let me show you how it works. It is really, really cool. So let's go in here and activate CSS Class Manager. Now, this is going to be a plugin that you might actually want to add to every site if you're using the block editor. It is super helpful, super helpful. So let's take a quick look at a page. Okay, so over here, here's just a simple paragraph block. Under advanced, there is, well, actually, let me do it this way. Just built into the block editor, under advanced, there is this additional CSS classes. It is normally, come on. Normally, it is just a text field where you can add multiple classes with spaces, and you just have to remember what they are, what these classes are. These, and you know, this is not, I'm not defining, you know, CSS markup here. This is CSS that lives someplace else in your styles.css or wherever else you have your CSS being loaded. This is assuming that there's a list of classes out there that you have for your website. If you have that, instead of having to remember what those classes are, that's where this plugin comes into play. So let me go back and reactivate this plugin, and we can reload this page. And notice how it looks a little bit different than the core. Okay, so we have these, it almost looks like a tag, right? So we can, let's just open Class Manager here. Oh, look, we got a couple classes where, you know, here's our class name. Here's a little description of what that class is. Here's that vertical vid class that I used for that for the thing in office hours last week. So you do have to add these classes yourself one at a time. There is an import with a JSON file if you know how to do that. But, you know, let's just say there's a few CSS classes that you want to be able to have here in the block editor to just use easily between blocks. Well, you would set all those up here, and then instead of having to remember, you can just click in here and look, all of your classes that are defined show up. So I can use my vertical vid class here. I can click here. I can use my special class, and they're just right there at a click, and you don't have to remember what the classes are. Yeah, like Melanie says, you don't have to remember what you did 6 months ago. I'm sure nobody else has that problem, but I certainly do. What did I call that class again? So it does it right there. It's just you add it, boom, done. Q, will it know to find the classes already in the theme? No. That's what I was saying. You have to go into the class manager, and you do have to add these classes one at a time. And again, we're not talking about the markup. We're only talking about the names of the classes. The markup, you know, the font weight equals bold, all that stuff needs to be wherever it normally goes. This is not a CSS manager. It's a quick list of your existing CSS classes. You add just the ones that you want to be able to select from that list to the class manager here, and this will follow you throughout the block editor. So you could go on another page, and this list of classes in the class manager is still there. It's not per page. Does that make sense? If you are designing in the block editor, this is just an incredible time saver. Let's see. Tim says he recently added this plugin to his stack, 2 functions that add the classes from the plugin to the functions.php file. One function loads all the utility classes. That's cool. So Tim has figured out how to automatically load a bunch of stuff. So that is pretty darn cool. So that is CSS Class Manager, what I think is an incredibly useful plugin. So Tim is saying the page for the plugin has the function. Oh, look at that. Boom. So what we do in this case is we go to our old friend ChatGPT and say, create me a function that does this, and it'll do it. Does that sound about right, Tim? That's pretty darn cool. Thanks for mentioning that. All right. Any other questions or comments about CSS Class Manager? It's a nifty little plugin. All right, we are now down to the final plugin of today's roundup, and it is called Debug Log Viewer, or Debug Log Viewer. Tomato, tomato. So let's take a quick vote. Give me a 1 or a 2. Is it debug or debug? Debug 1, debug 2. Wow. Okay, debug. Like unanimously debug. Okay. So it is the debug log viewer. All right. Debug log viewer. Let's take a look at this one. This is going to be one you definitely want to keep in the short list of your toolbox of plugins, because if you are ever having to do debug work, this is going to save you a ton of time. So let's skip this. All right. So here is the screen. What this is doing right now is it is loading in the WordPress debug log. And you will see there are many things, many things in the WP Nathan debug log, because it's WP Nathan and we put a bunch of garbage plugins on here every month. You'd be surprised at the ones that don't make the list and how they blow this website up. So there are many things to debug, and here they are all listed. So the first thing I want to show you is this. Over here is the list of debug constants. So if you want to turn on WP debug, instead of opening up your WP config and adding or changing the constant, you simply toggle on the toggle. Boom. Do you want to use the debug feature that works for JavaScript and not just PHP? Boom, right there. Do I want to log in a file? Yes, because that's what's going to show up here. Do I want to display errors on the site or on the page? Probably not. I'm going to leave that off. So right now we are in debug mode, and if we had an error, it would come up here live. We can refresh our view, and there's all the things, right? So let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, there's whatever this is has a problem. But let's go way back, like to the earliest one. Let's find something that is whatever this key host is. Well, let's go and take a look at the word. We can search our debug log now for a word, and it automatically just updates our link. Isn't that cool? So you can search your debug log right here from within WordPress. Let's just say I want to find things that happened in 2025. And it's going to update that live. It's a live filter. Vern is asking, do these change it instantly? Yes. Toggle on, it's on. So isn't that cool? Changing your number of entries, deciding what I want to actually show, toggling on and off. That you can sort by date, time, or whatever. Now, that's all cool, right? What if I'm just sort of watching a site and I want to make sure, I want to be notified if this issue comes up again? Well, click the notification, add my email address, and choose the time period that you want to be notified. And it will let you know if there's a serious problem. For example, if it tracks database, fatal, deprecated, and parse errors. So this will email you proactively with a digest based on the period that you select. So yeah, this is pretty darn cool. This is this is Debug Log Viewer. And before I forget, I'm going to go back and toggle all the stuff off. All right. Questions or comments on that one? Really handy plugin. Again, not one I'd use on every site, but one of the first I would probably reach for now if I have a debug issue. Okay. Or like, for example, if I'm developing code in ChatGPT and I'm testing it, what a better way than just toggle all this stuff on and watch it right there in the back end and see my errors right there. Really cool. So that brings us to the list of the January 2025 plugin roundup list. So we end as we usually do with the question, what is your favorite plugin of the list? One vote only, please. And we will calculate these for our best of live stream coming in June. So, wow, lots of votes. eCard, Class Manager, Debug, QR Code, eCard, Customer Journey Map. We're all over the board. Debug, eCard. Looks like eCard and Debug, Class Manager. Wow. Okay. I think the three that are at the top are eCard, Debug Log Viewer, and Class Manager. Those probably, I think Debug was probably the top one. Yeah, great. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Let me make you aware of a couple of things that are going on here at Solid that you might want to be aware of. First, our upcoming live streams. We have our quarterly security roundup with Thomas Rafe of We Watch Your Website coming up on Wednesday. So if you did not sign up for that, the link is now in the chat. It's the last link in the bundle that I just dropped in there. This is a free live stream. Thomas Rafe and his work at We Watch Your Website, they monitor over 18 million individual WordPress sites for security issues. And he has his finger on the pulse of what's actually happening with real attacks on WordPress sites. And Thomas is going to come talk to us about the major threats that are out there right now on January the 15th. That is Wednesday. Also, the following week, by the way, we did move News Roundup back a week to the 21st. Not a lot of news happened over the holidays. So we're going to give ourselves one more week to do News Roundup. That is now on Tuesday, the 21st this month. The 22nd, we have Jen Harry's back with us to talk about how to perform quick accessibility audits. So that's going to be a really nice live stream. Our premium course for members this month, I'm going to be taking you through a few steps I call the Productivity Accelerator. That's a 4-hour course over 2 different days. And finally, we just added this one about 10 minutes before we went live today. This is the Solid Security Setup Clinic with our own David Johnson. And David is going to walk us through how to set up Solid Security. So those are always questions we get. And David's going to walk through a lot of the major features of Solid Security, free and pro, and answer your specific questions about setting up Solid Security on your website. Yeah, Stacy, I like David too. He's a really good guy and very, very helpful. So that link is in the chat if you would like to register for that event. As always, you can go to academy.solidwp.com. Just click on upcoming events and you can see what's going on there. We also have a full library that goes back a lot, 7, 8, 9 years of many live streams that are searchable and filterable based on categories and so forth. And you can even hit the calendar view and look at it like I was just a bit ago. So that's going to wrap it up for us today. We're back on Thursday with office hours for members here on Solid Academy, where we go further together.